Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. 2 bags and a laptop. Those were the only items I had with me when I arrived in Germany 19 years ago. Now I'm the founder and co-owner of a multicultural mid-sized business specializing in industrial automation. The story I want to tell you today, my story, is that it's possible to be successful in a foreign culture, to build bridges, if you are willing to work hard for it. A long time ago, in the year 2001, I started college at the age of 16, after skipping the last year of high school. At that time, I enrolled in a political science program. Why? To be honest, I have no idea. As I was studying politics, I thought it would make sense to learn the German language. I enrolled in a basic course. A few months into my first semester, I met some German students attending my old high school, and we ended up becoming good friends. This motivated me to do a study abroad year. It's something like Erasmus in Europe. As my college had a partnership with the university in Würzburg, it was pretty easy. When I arrived in Germany in 2002, I was only 17 years old. I spent the first few weeks living with the family of one of the German friends I had made in America. They eased me into the German culture, and I learned pretty quickly that 2 semesters of German at an American college at that level were not really enough to communicate well. After a few weeks, I visited an intensive language course in Braunschweig, and then moved to Würzburg to begin studying in the winter semester. The first year in Würzburg was a year of making friends with other Erasmus students and Germans, and in general, a year of fun. Pretty soon, I realized that 1 year in Germany wouldn't be enough for me, and I decided to extend my stay for another year. During this time, I spent a lot of time switching between majors, and spent a lot of time enjoying the freedoms of living alone in Germany, far away from home and responsibilities. One thing missing during my first months in Germany was a job. I had started working at 15 years of age in the American classic for all underage children, McDonald's. As such, I was used to earning some extra money for myself and not relying on my parents. Through a few coincidences, which I don't exactly remember, I ended up working at the Main Post, a newspaper delivery service in Würzburg. I had been hired to do data entry. After only 1 day of doing this, I was bored out of my mind. I suggested to my boss that I could automate a lot of the process. As you could expect, they were pretty doubtful. It was 2002, there were no iPhones, technology wasn't really that evolved, and here was some American kid claiming he could do something better. In any case, for whatever reason, they let me try it, and it worked. Writing software for them became my full-time job there. To be fair, I have my parents to thank for my ability to program. After they failed to get me to learn classical piano, they asked me to choose a hobby, something they felt was important for children, apparently. I chose to learn programming. So I've been programming since around 10 years of age. For me, it was as natural as speaking or writing. After 2 years of studying at Würzburg, and 6 semesters in total, I realized that I still had no idea what I wanted to do with life, and decided finishing college with some random degree that I didn't really care about didn't make a lot of sense for me. So I decided to quit college and become a paramedic. It seemed like an important job, and it could make a difference and would be exciting. I moved back to Bremen and began a 2-year training to become a certified paramedic. I completed the 2nd year of training in Landshut. This was a practical year. During the time, I met my future wife, which cemented my desire to remain in Germany indefinitely. Fortunately for me, at the time I completed my training, there were no positions available in or near Landshut, and I couldn't find a job. My girlfriend found an advertisement in a local newspaper. There was a company looking for robot programmers who could speak English. I applied for the position, not expecting to be interviewed as I had no experience. And surprisingly enough, Stefan, without a microphone, that had never seen a robot before except on TV. The automation industry managed to awaken ambition in me, which I didn't know I had. McDonald's hadn't managed, nor had studying or becoming a paramedic. I had always wanted to be the best and the most knowledgeable in the area I was working in, but the ambition, the drive to succeed at all costs, I had never really felt that before. In retrospect, I think a big part of this, why I got so motivated, was that my boss, Stefan, didn't really believe I would be able to manage, as I didn't have any qualifications. I spent the first year working in Oxford, England, and learning the trade. After this, I went back to Germany, to Dingolfing, home territory, and continued working there. After 2 years at the company, I was their go-to man for programming questions and knowledge about how robots work. Due to ever-increasing differences of opinions with my boss, I chose to leave the company and switch to another job within the field of automation, PLC programming. I was lucky enough to have made friends with a freelance PLC programmer while in England. He hired me as his first employee and began training me. While I had liked robot programming, I loved PLC programming. It combines the best parts of working in industrial automation, seeing things move, seeing things happen, and programming a much more office kind of work. During the next 2 years, I progressed as a PLC programmer and met and connected with a lot of people. I gained the reputation as the programmer you want to have, quick and effective, and no problems too big. In 2012, I decided to make the next move and become a freelancer myself. I started a one-person company to provide PLC programming. I was lucky enough I never had to look for work. Through my reputation and experience, it came to me. After a few months, a BMW contact I had asked me to program some lines directly for BMW, not as a sub-supplier. This led to an interesting conversation with the BMW purchasing department, who told me it was pretty much impossible for a one-person company to get a supplier number at BMW. At the time, this really frustrated me because I couldn't get the contract theoretically. In retrospect, it was kind of funny. The guy even laughed at me on the telephone. He thought it was funny that I would call and try to get a purchasing number. A few weeks later, thanks to the BMW contact, who really was desperate for a PLC programmer, and a personal sales pitch at BMW Munich, I had a supplier number for BMW and was now able to directly supply for BMW, which was good, comes with risks and advantages. Shortly thereafter, BMW Anlagenbau, a BMW department responsible for building complete lines, asked me if I would be interested in assisting with the project management for the electrical scope of a project in England. I had been recommended by a BMW planner I knew from a previous contract. As part of the contract, I was also required to deliver the electrical scope for a small line. For me, this was a big step up, from a PLC programmer to an external planner for BMW, as well as a complete electrical supplier, something I had never done before. The risks were high and I had no employees, little experience as an electrical supplier, and needed to deliver the complete scope of a line and do planning. And on top of this, it was in England. I hired my first employee and arranged my first subcontractors. The first steps for me to building a company were done. Both projects went well in England, and I met a lot of people who would be important for my future, including my current business partners. After a return trip to Germany as a holiday, I was denied re-entry into England and got a free 4-hour stay in the border jail, where they even took away my shoelaces. Through my own naivety, it had never occurred to me that as an American living and working in Germany, I would need to have a work visa for England. So now I was illegal in England. In retrospect, it was pretty stupid. I was marked illegal, and it was impossible for me to get a work visa officially in England, and after two tries, I gave up. This incident was one of the major reasons I decided to get my German citizenship and give up my American. Germany was my adopted home, and I wasn't about to let citizenship damage my business. I continued both projects per remote from Germany. It wasn't the best solution, but it worked, and I was really lucky to have a customer who was sympathetic to the situation. BMW extended my contract as a planner for 2 further projects in BMW Dingolfing. During this time, I was working hard to build my company and take on other projects. To this end, I hired an electrician, and we took on a trainee for electronics. Now we were also an Ausbildungsbetrieb. I was working 8 hours a day at Anlagenbau as a planner, and at night managing my other projects. We were working in Dingolfing for other general contractors, and in Landshut and Hallberg-Moos as direct suppliers for BMW. In 2017, I was asked by BMW Anlagenbau to join them directly as an employee in their electrical plannings department. I was honored by the request, as it was a pretty high-level position at BMW, and I myself had no degree and nothing official on paper. I just had my experience and my reputation. After thinking a long time about it, I decided to accept their offer and began working directly as an employee for BMW. I gave up my position as CEO of my company as part of the terms, was however allowed to maintain ownership of my company. The company continued to flourish as we had an established customer network, and we hired additional employees, including our first foreign employees from India and from Poland. At BMW, I had a great job. They're a great employer, and my boss was great. The money was excellent, as were the benefits and the freedoms which came with a high-level position. It was a good time. However, after years of being self-employed and a free spirit, I had difficulty integrating into a large company with its rules and regulations. I decided in 2019 to leave BMW and return to my company full-time. Shortly before this, I had sold part of my company to a longtime friend, one of the guys I met in England, and he joined the company also full-time. This was really a kickstart to our development. We received our first request for a large-scale project, and after a lot of back and forth with BMW, we were able to convince them that despite our small size, we could manage it. Now we needed to hire more employees to do the project. The market in Germany made it almost impossible to find qualified German employees. As my business partner was from Poland and we already had foreign employees, we decided to continue hiring people of all backgrounds and skill levels from other countries and to train them ourselves. The most important characteristics for us was and is motivation and drive. If someone wants to learn and is willing to invest time and effort, they can learn, they can do anything. Since then, we've continued to grow. I sold another part of my company to a longtime friend and colleague, and we have recently opened our first subsidiary in Poland. We've gained a reputation with our customers for being a diverse company. Around 90% of our employees are not German. We have people from Poland, India, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Syria, Bulgaria, Brazil. We have a number of women working as electricians and programmers, something which is really not common in German industry. It's still pretty seldom. I have been given a chance by my first boss, Stefan, without which I would not be where I am today. My goal is to do the same for others as he did for me. I want to provide opportunities to potentially good people who may be ignored by other German companies. We build bridges by providing people of all cultural and educational backgrounds with opportunities and the ability to realize their dreams and reach their goals. For me, it's not just about what you have on paper, it's about what you are willing to do to succeed. Thank you.